Okay, there are a couple of fixes that you were asking about. One was how to select page and 80 items. You're doing it correctly in your code. You just have one little typo, and one little typo, as you can tell, will send the whole thing into a mess. If you look on Dreamweaver, you know how there's this dark blue color and then there's a light blue color? At a certain point, everything becomes the light blue color. And so Dreamweaver is trying to tell you that somewhere near the start of this light blue color, there is a problem. And you can see it right here. P class equals red text, but you don't have your beginning quotes. So if you put in your beginning quotes, then everything goes back to the right color, right? We have green, we have black, we have all kinds of different colors. As soon as you do that, if you have the P class equals red text and P class equals red text here, now if I go over into my CSS and I say dot red text, right, because it's a class, so you do dot, and then you put in color, let's see, let's give it a crazy color, purple. You can see now that page and 80 items do work. Now, if you wanted to do the actual page numbers and give them a color, then you need to give each one of these length a class. So like class equals numbers, quotes numbers. So if I do that, then over here, I can come in and I can select a:\length dot numbers and give it a color. So let's just give it a color. Okay, so you'll see that first one becomes white. So when you select a class, usually it's just dot and then the name of the class, and you can change it here. But when you select a class that is a link, it has to have the a link or the a visited in front of it. So a:\length dot and then the name of the class, and then you can select it. So that's how you select these couple things. The biggest problem was just that missing quotes. And then if you want to select one of the lengths, you put it in with a class. That's how you select it. Okay. The other issue you had was this footer down here. Now, there are a couple issues. It depends on where you want the footer to actually be. So, if you want it to float on the bottom, right, we need to put float left for the actual footer itself. Right, so now, if I put float left, your footer comes down here. I don't know if you want it down here. If you want it actually to be up here underneath the shoes, then you just need to give it a smaller width. And the width that you gave main, I think it was 774, would work. So if you give it 774, if you give it a smaller width and you make it float, you keep it floating, then now it's going to come up here underneath the shoe. So it's really up to you which one you choose to do. Okay, so let me take it back to the 1024. Now, if you do 1024, you can see they float nicely next to each other. And the reason they're floating nicely next to each other is because you had already had them selected. If you do the 774, the reason they don't float nicely next to each other is that they don't fit on the same line. So, if you do the 774 and you have it up here, to make them fit, you need to decrease the width of each individual item, customer service, and about us to be to 300. And then once you make them small enough, they'll fit right up next to each other. So now they're up here and they're the same size as the main, and they float next to each other really nicely. Now to make them not have tabs, that's a great question, you need to select the ULs inside the footer. So the way that I do that, I can select footer, and then I can select UL, which is an unordered list, right? That's what you are trying to do. And the reason they're next to each other is because they have margins and padding. So margin 0px, padding 0px, and that should fix the tabbed issue. Yep, now they're just there on the page. It also means that you can do other things to it. So again, to select it, I have to do my pound footer, which tells it inside my footer, I want to select just the ULs. Because I don't want to impact all your other ULs. And then I give it a margin of 0 and a padding of 0, and it fixes your problem. Okay, let me know if you have any other questions.